you're doing well today. Where I am, it's quite sunny, but it's chilly today. I hope that you have some sunshine today where you are. I have enjoyed playing music with you every day, and I certainly hope that you've enjoyed singing along with me. But did you know something? I also love to read stories. And so I thought maybe once in a while I'll read a story. Today I'm going to do just that. And the story I've chosen to read today is called Otis and the Kittens. And it's written by Lauren Long. That looks like a big farm, doesn't it? So there are lots of words in this story. I will read the words and then I will share the pictures with you. Okay? Can you get comfortable? Maybe sit down on a pillow on the floor, crisscross. All right, here we go. It was hot and dry on the farm where the little friendly tractor named Otis lived. Otis couldn't remember the last time it had rained. Farmers all over the valley grew more anxious by the day. Water was in short supply, the ground was hard, and the corn stalks were half as tall as they should have been. Otis spent his afternoons out in the sweltering fields with the farm hands baling straw. Here you see they're all hard at work. Once the load was full, with a puff and a chuff, Otis would pull the wagon into the old barn down by the bend at Mud Creek. The farm hands would use a pulley to lift each bale up into the loft, where it would be stored for the long winter to come. When the sun had gone down over the hill and work was done, Otis was ready to sit in the shade and rest. But not Otis's friend, the bull. So here they are, hard at work, pulling up the bales into the loft. The bull liked to stand in front of Otis and snort and snarl and huff hot air. 2 snorts, a snarl, and a huff. All the animals knew what that meant. The bull was challenging Otis to a tug of war. Otis smiled. His friends were always eager to play, even after a long day of work. One duck wound the end of a rope around the bull's horns. Another duck looped the other end around Otis' steering wheel. The animals then took their sides, grabbing on any way they could. Everyone pulled and tugged with all of their might, and eventually Otis would ease up a little. He didn't care much about winning, he just liked having fun with his friends. You see them there? They're all pulling and tugging so hard, aren't they? One afternoon, when everyone was up under the shade of the apple tree, Otis spotted something moving down in the field. It looked to be an orange tabby cat. Where did she come from? Otis wondered. He watched as she ran toward the old barn, and there he saw something that caused his engine to sputter, a swirl of smoke. You see the cat? Way down here. All right, let's find out what this is all about. Otis raced to the barn with the animals following behind. they discovered flames coming from the loft inside the old barn. Oh no, a fire! The barn was filled with brittle straw, and Otis knew it wouldn't take long for it all to burst into flames. Just then the tabby cat appeared in the barn window. Meow, meow. With a puff, puff, puttering chuff, Otis rushed into the burning barn. Can you see the cat right there in the window? And here's Otis rushing. What's going to happen, I wonder? I think he might save the day. Inside, the flames were growing, and smoke was foaming a dark cloud. The cat was pacing back and forth high above on a rafter. Meow, meow, meow. Otis chuffed for her to jump down, but the cat wouldn't budge. Instead, she stared down at Otis and belted out the loudest meow Otis had ever heard. What was she trying to tell him? Suddenly, Otis heard a tiny meow, meow from the hayloft, and then another tiny meow, meow, and another, and another, and another, and another. At once, 5 furry little heads popped up and stared down at him. Kittens! As the flames blazed overhead, Otis stood on hind wheels and stretched to the edge of the loft. To a chorus of tiny meow, 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 meow. One by one, the kittens hopped down. The farm animals cheered as Otis emerged from the burning barn with kittens all over him. Oh, they're so cute, aren't they? But as soon as Mama Cat counted their little heads, she meowed frantically back at the barn. This time, Otis had no doubt what she was trying to say. How many more were still in there, he wondered. By then, the top of the barn was engulfed in flames, sending large plumes of smoke into the sky. Otis was afraid, but he pushed his engine, screeched his tires, and dashed back into the burning barn. Inside, the heat was growing worse, and it was hard to breathe, and Otis revved his engine, and one last head popped up, trembling with fear. Otis puffed a gentle chuff, and the kitten climbed down on top of him, hopped to his seat, leapt to the floor, and scrambled out of the barn to safety. That looks like a disaster, doesn't it? Oh, there it is. Meow, meow. Cute little kitten. Outside, the animals cheered when they saw another kitten emerge, and they watched for Otis to follow. Inside, the flames spread by the second. Otis wheeled around to see if any more kittens were left. The old boards of the barn's floor creaked and buckled and moaned, and the walls popped. He couldn't wait another second. Just as Otis spotted the exit and raced his wheels to leave, there was a giant crash. This doesn't look good, does it? I wonder what's going to happen. The floor collapsed, and Otis plunged to the darkness below. Oh no! Outside, the animals held their breath, waiting for their friend to emerge, and inside, Otis couldn't move. He had fallen into the cluttered lower level of the old barn, and he was covered in dust, debris, and broken planks. Stuck in the hole with the fire raging above, Otis could hardly puff a breath. Then he heard the siren of Fire Chief Douglas and the fire engine. The farmer pulled up and Otis heard him rounding up the animals. Help had arrived. He knew he'd be fine until he heard Fire Chief Douglas holler. Can you see him in the debris there? Part of his, you can see the red right there. Let's see what Fire Chief Douglas hollered. Sorry, farmer, the creek's gone dry in the drought and the water supply's too low to save the old barn. As long as everyone's safe, we'll have to let it burn. Underneath the pile of broken boards and dust, Otis couldn't see a thing or move a gasket, and his heart sank deep inside his engine. Oh no. There's the old fire truck. And you see all the animals. They sure are worried for their friend Otis. The animals had grown wild with fear. The farmer counted them one by one. They were all safe and sound. He couldn't figure out why they were acting so crazy. Suddenly, the little calf bolted for the barn door. His friends followed right behind him. There's the bull and the ducks. You see the horse, and the cow, and the goat. They have a plan, I think. Inside the fiery barn, they spotted Otis, stuck down in the hole, covered in boards and dust. His engine was barely running. How could they ever get him out? Do you have an idea maybe how they can get him out? I don't know. Let's find out. The bull looked up at the rafters and down at Otis. He stood in front of the hole in the floor and snorted and snarled and huffed hot air. 2 snorts, a snarl, and a huff. The animals knew just what that meant. One duck grabbed the pulley rope and wound it around the bull's horns. Another duck flew into the hole and hooked it to Otis' steering wheel. The bull snorted and tugged and snarled and pulled, but Otis didn't budge. Everybody's working so hard together, aren't they? They're cooperating. The horse and the cow grabbed the rope behind the bull, and together they snorted and tugged and neighed and mooed and pulled, and Otis teetered ever so slightly. The little calf jumped in and tugged and bawled and pulled, and Otis raised a bit more. The puppy grabbed the rope behind the little calf, and with a fierce tugged and pulled and growled as Otis inched upward. And then came a piercing meow and the sound of Fire Chief Douglas shouting, "Holy moly! Otis is in there! Hold on tight, everyone! I'm here to help!" Look at them all working together. By cooperating, we can get things done and achieve so much, can't we? Fire Chief Douglas grabbed the end of the rope and tugged and pulled and tugged. And all together the animals and Fire Chief Douglas lifted Otis higher and higher and higher until he was suspended above the hole. The ducks swooped in and pushed him over the edge of the opening, to where they could lower him into the floor. Together, everyone pulled the dust and ash-covered tractor out from the burning fire just as parts of the barn began to fall. Pull! Look at them. Pull! Pull! Oh, and there we go. There he is. They saved the day, didn't they? Oh my goodness. Then Fire Chief Douglas and his men hoisted off Otis and wiped down his frame. The cool water revived Otis, and everyone cheered when they heard a faint poof, 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 poof. It was music to their ears. The kittens jumped up on top of Otis and crawled all over him. Fire Chief Douglas laughed and said, "Ha, Farmer, what say we adopt these kittens and their mama? They'd make a mighty fine addition to our firehouse family." Otis puffed a happy ch-ch. He couldn't think of a better home for his new friends. The end. Oh, how cute is that? Oh, there's the mama cat, and then here's all of the kittens. Should we count them really quickly? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the end of the story today. I hope you enjoyed it, friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.